Following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFangy coming to you with what will hopefully be a quick and successful review. And I know it's been a while since I've done my last review. It's been about a week. And I apologize for that. Between helping my family, Emily, and my job, I've been juggling those two responsibilities. I finally, the other night, got the motivation to finally get back to reviewing, and when I did, I sat down, and I sneezed, and had a severe allergy attack, so this is the first night that I finally have the energy, the motivation, and the time I am to do a review. So as the title of the review has revealed, tonight we're going to be taking a look at a Transformers figure that unfortunately is somewhat of a bittersweet moment reviewing, because it is the Transformers Kingdom Deluxe Class Autobot Slammer. Now, the reason why I say it's a bittersweet moment doing the review of Slammer here, that's because Slammer is the last deluxe class sized figure of the and not only of the Transformers Kingdom line, but also of the War for Cybertron Trilogy. All the other deluxe class figures that are being released this year, apart from Slammer's Wavemate Kingdom Pipes, who I already reviewed. I believe Pipes was the last figure that I reviewed. But yes, after Slammer, all the other deluxe class figures, even ones that are repaints of figures from the Kingdom line, they're officially going to be part of the Transformers Legacy line. So Slammer is the very final Transformers figure to be released under the War for Cybertron Trilogy and the Kingdom banner. So Slammer is somewhat special in the fact that in the original Generation 1 line, Slammer was one of 3 robots that was partnered with the Autobot Metroplex. And in the original Generation 1 version of Slammer, he did not have a robot mode. He transformed from a battle tank into a cannon that Metroplex used. So to see Slammer have his own unique robot mode, it's the first time here in the Kingdom line. Similar to the way back in the Siege line, when one of Metroplex's other partner robots, Six Gun, was released in the Siege line. Six Gun had never had his own vehicle mode. Oh, he did have a robot mode, but then Six Gun, who I'll bring out right now while Slammer's still in the box, Six Gun here, he transformed from his robot mode into, as his name implied, 6 guns that Metroplex could use in all of his modes. So Six Gun, his jet mode, his vehicle mode, was a new thing to see when he was released in the Siege line, and now with Slammer, his robot mode is the new feature for him here. So I make no mistake, I thoroughly enjoy the fact that Metroplex's partners and the other robots who are designed to be partnered up with the Titan class Transformers figures, I really enjoy that they now are fully transformable Transformers characters possessing their robot modes and vehicle modes, along with the gimmick of weaponizers, which is a upgraded version of their combined modes with their Titan class partners, who have all been sold separately. But yes, it's really nice to see. Now, because Slammer did not possess a robot mode originally in the Generation 1 franchise, one thing that I like about Slammer is that for his face, Hasbro and Takara decided to give Slammer a visor and a mouth plate. So it's still kind of mysterious as to what Slammer would look like if the visor and the mouth plate are covering up his actual face. And that's something that's been heavily implied in more recent years and more recent Transformers cartoon series, is that characters who have mouth plates or who have visors, that that's not the actual part of their faces, that it's just protective armor that they're wearing over a mouth and a pair of working eyeballs. Someone pointed out on one of the blogs on one of the fan-based websites several years ago that the Transformers characters with visors and mouth plates look more robotic than the ones who have actual eyeballs and mouths, because it gives them a more mechanical look to them. So I'm really enjoying the way Slammer's robot mode has been designed. So here's Slammer inside his box. There's the artwork. There he is in his tank mode. Here he is in his robot mode. Here on the top of the box, Slammer is an Autobot, in case you didn't think that the word Autobot being in front of his name was an indicator of that. Here, for one last time with the deluxe class-sized figures, we have the poster image for the Kingdom line, and the authentic Transformers logo, the War for Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom logo. The bottom of the box, you've got the barcode. Coming on here to the back of the box, you've got Slammer in his official product photos. Slammer transforms from his brand new robot mode to his tank mode in just 20 steps. And just like Six Gun, who I brought out, and the deluxe class Transformers figures from the Siege line, Slammer is in fact a weaponizer, just like all the robots released in the Siege line who were released under the weaponizer gimmick. Six Gun, and you had Cog and Brunt. I forgot who else. But yes, it even says on the Transformers Wikipedia, Slammer, despite being released in the Kingdom line, he is the final Transformers figure to be a weaponizer and have the weaponizer gimmick. And of course, here he is being pictured in his weaponizer mode with his wave mate, Kingdom Pipes. I'm not going to transform Slammer into his weaponizer mode because, to be honest, I've never really been too much of a fan of having the weaponizer Transformers have their bodies come apart to become backpacks and weapons packs for other Transformers figures to have. But I do like this gimmick of theirs, since it does go with the Titan class figures that they're designed to be partnered with. So I actually enjoy that slightly more. And one thing to note about Slammer is that if you look closely here on the artwork on his box, Slammer's tank treads are supposed to be stuck on the back of him and be a backpack kibble, but when you transform Slammer into his weaponizer mode, the tank treads are actually supposed to combine together and they become a chainsaw type weapon. So with Slammer, you technically have two options when he's in his robot mode. You can take the tank treads and turn them into a backpack, or you can have Slammer use them just like when he is in weaponizer mode, when he disassembles and becomes a bunch of weapons for another Transformers character to use. He can have the chainsaw that he's supposed to have in weaponizer mode. So Slammer can be armed with two weapons, his cannon and the chainsaw. So I really like that you have those two options with Kingdom Slammer here when you transform him. So for those of you who have picked it up already, unfortunately one of Slammer's accessory pieces is loose in the box, so I'm hoping that it hasn't been damaged in the time since I got Slammer, which was just over a month ago. So without further delay, let's get Slammer, the final deluxe class figure in the Kingdom line, out of his box and take a close look at him in his robot mode. Alright, so before we actually look at Slammer, here is the collector card that he came with. It's Unicron, and on the inside we have Unicron in his planet mode. So it's the same card that we got with Pipes, and I believe Unicron is the last collector card to be released in the Kingdom line. I love the fact that unlike the Autobot, Maximal, Predacon, and Decepticon cards, Unicron's frame, it's like a greenish brown, and he has no faction symbol on him. So yeah, Unicron, even though the Hasbro and Takara Tomy have acknowledged the fact that Unicron is not a Decepticon or a Predacon, he's just evil incarnate. So he's not purple, he falls into his own category of sinister evilness. So setting that off aside, here is Slammer in his robot mode. I put the cannon on his right arm since that's what the instructions show. And yes, as I said at the beginning of the video, in the original Generation 1 line, Slammer did not possess a robot mode. He just transformed from a tank into a cannon that Metroplex could use. So even though he was given a name and an identity, Slammer was originally just a vehicle drone that existed to help defend Metroplex from any attacking Decepticons. But I do like the design that Hasbro and Takara Tomy aim up with Slammer. A lot of Transformers collectors pointed out when the images of Slammer were first leaked on the internet that with the way his transformation is designed and the look of his head and the square shape design of it, along with his blocky chest, Slammer looks a lot like the Combaticon Brawl more than any other Transformers character, so that's pretty interesting to see. So inside his box, right out of the box, is what I meant to say, Slammer comes packaged, transformed into the official robot mode, where his tank treads are sitting on his back, act like they're a backpack. But of course, you can take the treads, and this was the loose piece in the box, was this connector peg right here that you're designed to put together to use to hold the tank treads together. Now, this has been one problem with Slammer, is that for his long pieces that are designed to connect together, either like this, there's pegs on only one side, not both. So, for a lot of the weaponizer parts on Slammer, you're really dependent on him having friction, relying on friction to have his weapon parts put together, and his chainsaw weapon is no exception to that. So here's Slammer with the chainsaw attached. So I love that option, how if you don't want it to be a backpack and you want Slammer to have a more slim looking robot mode, you can have him wield the chainsaw in his robot mode himself and not just have it be one of his weaponizer gimmicks. Now, one problem I'm noticing with my copy of Slammer is that there's no way to lock the waist in robot mode. So again, Slammer is relying on a lot of friction joints, and I believe that's the main reason for that is because of the gimmick of the weaponizer mode and his body parts breaking up to form a single weapon. And one thing to note about Slammer is that right there underneath his Autobot logo on this part that looks like a hinge joint, it kind of is, but it's mainly a transformation joint for his robot mode. Right above it, I don't know how you can see through it, but yeah, that's a hollow opening right behind it, and you can see it if you take this back piece off of Slammer, and yeah, Slammer is completely hollow in his robot mode torso, and again, he relies on that piece right there to make it look as though he's more solidly built. So for articulation, his head is on a ball joint, so it can look up and down. Now it can look left and right, 360 degrees. He's got swivel joints at the shoulder. The arms can move inward and outward. Swivel joint at the biceps, so the arms can rotate 360 degrees, clockwise and counterclockwise. Hinged elbows. No wrist articulation in his hands, since his hands are sculpted with his lower arms as one piece, since they form the tank turret when he's in his vehicle mode. He does have a waist swivel, but again, and that's just because it's a separate piece that disconnects for the weaponizer mode. It's got universal jointed hips, so if you move the arms out of the way, the legs can go forward that much, they can go backwards that much, they can go forwards that much. That much swivel joints in the thighs. Nice. And unfortunately, right out of the box, I'm noticing that this arm, for some reason, it wants to stop halfway through, even though it's not supposed to, so it feels like there's a click right there. This arm does not have it. The swivel joint works completely well, so I don't know why that is, so that's a little bit of a problem to see that on my copy of Kingdom Slammer, having one shoulder joint that has something stopping it from swiveling up and down properly, while on the other one it's perfectly fine. Thigh swivel, as I mentioned a moment ago. Hinge joints at the knees, and he does have ankle rockers, but this is one of the few gripes that I have with Slammer, is that the ankle rocker doesn't work on the entire front foot. It only works on the outer toes, so it looks like Slammer's big toes and the inward parts of his feet are just stationary, so that looks a little silly in my opinion. But yes, there is Slammer in his robot mode. For a size comparison, here he is again with the other Autobot, who is one of Metroplex's partners, Six Gun. So as you can see here, Six Gun and Slammer, the G1 versions of them did originally come packaged with Metroplex, so their colors were designed to match up more. Slammer didn't have as many black parts on here as his G1 figure did. He was mostly the light gray used on his torso and the white used on his lower arms and his head and pelvis. Elvis, so he did match up with Six Gun a lot more. But yes, if you did not know that these guys were both partners with Metroplex, you would probably think that they were designed to be partners of separate Titans, but not the exact same one, since unfortunately the only parts on Slammer that match up with Six Gun is the white parts, but my camera is making it look like they're almost the same shade of white. But now that I finally have Six Gun out of his box and putting them up together, Six Gun, he's actually kind of an off-white, while Slammer is a pure white. The Slammer, his white parts, that's as white as white can get. But for some reason, I'm just noticing now on Six Gun, now that I have a Transformers figure that is made out of pure white plastic, Six Gun has the tiniest bit of yellow tinge to him, so he's actually almost like, I want to say, an ivory or off-white. But not pure white, as my eyes have been tricked into thinking he's been for the last, going on 3 years that I've owned him, since 2019. But yes, I'm really happy to finally have Slammer and Six Gun standing beside each other at last, and I'm really enjoying how Slammer's robot owed how the final figure ended up becoming. I've seen some fans and collectors speculate that the main reason why Slammer was originally supposed to be released in Wave 4 of the Kingdom line, but some Transformers fans and collectors have speculated that it's because the designers at Hasbro and Takara Tomy were still finalizing the design for Slammer. That's the reason why he and also Pipes were delayed from Wave 4 and ended up getting released in Wave 5 of the Kingdom line. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is true that Slammer delayed himself and Pipes from being released due to Hasbro and Takara Tomy wanting to working out the final design of him, I think that was a wise decision, because even though he doesn't have too many paint apps, there is a lot of sculpting detailing to be found on Slammer, even in his robot mode. So yes, I'm really enjoying how Slammer looks. Alright, and for one last special size comparison in robot mode, here is Slammer surrounded by the other weaponizers from the Siege line. Along with Six Gun, we've got Cog, who is the other Autobot weaponizer, and here on the back we got the Decepticon weaponizers, we have Brunt, and we have Fast Track, and we also have Black Rorichi. So yeah, Slammer, even though he's been released in the Kingdom line, he is the last of the weaponizers that was released in the Siege line, so I don't know why. The best guess I can offer for why Hasbro and Takara Tomy decided to release one last weaponizer in the Kingdom line was to have the War vs. Cybertron Trilogy come full circle and have the last deluxe class figure in the Kingdom line be a weaponizer who basically, you could joke that Slammer, because he's a weaponizer, technically he was supposed to be originally released in the Siege line, but he was released in the Kingdom line. And so yeah, the War for Cybertron Trilogy has come full circle with the first deluxe class figure a year released in the Siege line. I can't remember the exact number, I'll have to look it up on the TF Wikipedia, but the first Transformers figure from the Siege line that I ever added to my Transformers collection, which was also the first War for Cybertron Trilogy figure, was in fact Siege Cog. So Slammer being the last deluxe class figure, being a weaponizer just like Cog, the War for Cybertron Trilogy has finally come full circle, and for anyone who had any doubts, the Kingdom line is in fact designed to be Chapter 3 of a 3-part story, and Siege was Chapter 1. And by having the first deluxe class figure being a weaponizer and the last deluxe class figure of the trilogy being weaponizers, so I think that's a little fun that Hasbro and Takara Tomy decided to do that. So without further delay, now that as you can tell from the top of his head, Slammer is the same average height as the other weaponizer figures. Depending on how you have their legs splayed out, Slammer is, I want to say, 1 millimeter, maybe 2 millimeters taller at the top of the heads than the tops of the heads of the other weaponizers. But the reason why Slammer looks like he's the shortest out of all of them, shorter than than Cog and Six Gun, is due to the large guns that they have sculpted onto the tops of their shoulders. But I think it works for Slammer not having tall shoulders like his fellow Autobot weaponizers and being closer to the Decepticon weaponizers in not really having tall weapons on their shoulders, the exception being Brunt with his shoulder cannon on the back. So without further delay, let's get Slammer transformed into his tank mode and Ode and wrap up the review. Alright, now before we actually get into Slammer's vehicle mode, Ode, which is his tank mode, there is one more mode, Ode, that I need to show. Ode that is not shown on Slammer's box, but it is shown in his instruction sheets, and that is the his mode that's designed to help him interact with Metroplex. And actually, let me just double check the instruction sheet, because I actually watched a video review of this. Okay, so yeah, no, it's not even in the instruction sheet. So what's omitted from Slammer's, all of his official product photos, the instruction sheet, and his box is his combined mode with Metroplex, and it is this right here. This is known as his tower mode. And while Metroplex is in one of his two vehicle modes of a city, Slammer is supposed to transform into a skyscraper that you attach on him. This was shown in the live stream video that was originally showed off Kingdom Slammer and showing how he interacts with Generations Metroplex. Officially, you're supposed to leave in tower mode, you're supposed to leave Slammer's robot mode arms, which form the tank turret. You're supposed to leave them detached like this, and then have the tank cannon here acting as a radio antenna, at least in the 1980s, it was a radio antenna. I guess today you could call it a Wi-Fi internet tower. But yes, there is a 6-gun in his tower mode for Metroplex. From the video reviews I've seen, there isn't really any place to actually connect a 6-gun. I keep wanting to call him 6-gun Slammer. I got his name right that time. But technically, the Slammer does have two 5mm posts here on the bottom, but it's hindered by the rest of the cable here on the bottom of him. So technically, if you want to, what you can do is this little gray connector piece that acts as the tip for the tank turret. You're actually, I believe you're supposed to plug it into the bottom like that, and now Slammer has a 5mm port on the bottom of him that he can plug not only into Metroplex but into other Titan class size transformers and act as a tower that way. So yeah, I forgot you're supposed to attach that little piece right there on the bottom. So now Slammer has a 5mm port that you can plug him into Titan class transformers and have him act as a skyscraper. While it is a cool idea, yeah, from the videos I've seen and the photos I've seen of people doing this, there isn't really too many 5mm ports to be found on the 2013 Generations Titan class Metroplex figure that Slammer can successfully attach to. So fortunately, tower mode, while it does work it can have the potential to work properly, and it's a fantastic idea when written on paper, the final execution isn't really as interactive and interesting as it ought to be. So I'll leave you guys to decide what you think of that. So bringing the robot mode arms back in, get this piece on here, get them reattached. Hopefully they'll attach successfully, since I haven't paused the video and I'm still recording. Okay, hopefully it stays together. Which side is that side? Okay. Alright, so the easiest modes to transform Slammer back and forth between are his tower mode and his vehicle mode of a tank. So yes, here it is. Here is Slammer in his tank mode. It is very reminiscent of the original G1 Slammer figure, although there is a lot more sculpted detailing on here. On the G1 version of Slammer, the tank treads were actually just stickers placed at the base of the tank mode, and here it's all sculpted out. Unfortunately, just like most tank Transformers figures, Slammer, he actually has plastic wheels that allow him to spin. He's got 2 here on the front, and unfortunately he has one on a cylinder-shaped wheel in the back middle of it, so Slammer actually is dependent on 3 little plastic wheels to help him roll along. From what I can feel with my fingers, the 2 front wheels roll fairly fine, but this middle cylinder-shaped wheel in the back middle of him, it doesn't want to roll that well, so unfortunately Slammer can't really roll around that much. But considering the fact that Hasbro and Takara Tomy took a G1 character who transformed just from a tank, and this is actually very similar to transforming Slammer from tank mode to tower mode. It's very reminiscent to how the original Generation 1 Slammer figure transformed. You'd flip out, you basically rotate the middle section of the tank away from the turrets. Turrets have it pointed like this, and then you'd have a huge laser gun and that Metroplex could wield, and that's all Slammer transformed into. So again, I really enjoy how Slammer now has his own robot mode. And he now has a face to go with him. And I will admit, one thing I will have to say about Slammer, robot mode is my favorite of his 3 modes so far. Unfortunately, for tank mode, even more so than robot mode, Slammer is very dependent on friction to keep him together. The fact that the tank turret is made by the 2 robot mode arms, in addition to only being able to rotate upwards that far, the tank turret itself really wants to break apart, because unfortunately this little gray piece right here is the only thing that's keeping the 2 arms from flopping out from each other. I've seen on eBay someone came out with a third-party upgrade kit where you can actually put a 5mm port inside either one of these 2 peg holes here in the robot mode arms to keep the turret locked in place more securely. So you can see why that is, because this does not want to hold together in place all that well. But apart from that, I can easily overlook it. Again, there's a lot of sculpted detailing on here, and Slammer has a lot more, I called it black early in the review, but it's actually dark gray parts compared to his G1 figure, but I really enjoy that. Pretty much the only takeaway from Slammer's tank mode is that these metal screws do stick out on the outside of the tank mode, and here on this side of the tank you've got a manufacturer's number here on the side. But apart from that, I really enjoy how the overall look of the tank mode and how it came, and the final result of it. And I love how here on the back, this is the bottom of a Slammer's robot mode feet. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. The outside bits are the bottom of feet, but the part I was talking about right here in the middle, these are his robot mode shoulders, and I love how those things double as missile pods, but you could also pretend that they're rocket boosters if you want, so Slammer can be a fast-moving tank that just zips along the battlefield. So the possibilities are limitless with your imagination with Slammer, and unfortunately, imagination is what makes Slammer an interesting figure and stops him from essentially in tank mode. Because he's very boxy shaped, Slammer is by all accounts a box with a turret on it, but I'm willing to overlook it because I'm just very happy to finally have an action figure of Slammer in my Transformers collection. Alright, and to end off the video, here is Slammer surrounded by his fellow weaponizers in their vehicle modes. In the front we've got Slammer standing in between Six Gun and Cog, and then in the back we've got the 3 Decepticon weaponizers, Fast Track, Brunt, and Black Rarichi. So yes, I'm really thrilled to finally have Slammer standing here beside, or being here beside the other weaponizer Transformers. And so yes, as I said a moment ago, Cog, for me at least, was the first Autobot Cybertron Trilogy figure that I added to my collection, and Slammer is the last deluxe class figure, so having a weaponizer be the last deluxe class figure in the Autobot Cybertron Trilogy line, Hasbro and Takara Tomy have gone full circle, and they've started and ended the Autobot Cybertron Trilogy with the weaponizer Transformers figures, so that's really exciting to see. The other weaponizers have all been used, been repainted at least one time. Black Rarichi is in fact a repaint of Fast Track. Cog has been repainted into one of the 3 Power Dashers, Aragon. Six Gun has been repainted into another one of the Power Dashers, Chromar, and then Brunt has been repainted twice into the third and final Power Dasher, Autobot Zetar, and then of course the Centurion drone, which I do not have, nor do I plan on getting. But with all the other weaponizers having been repainted into other Transformers characters, I'm hopeful that if Hasbro and Takara Tomy do decide to use the Kingdom Slammer mold a second time and repaint it into another character, I'm hoping it'll be one that will be interesting and worthwhile for collectors to add to their Transformers collections as well. So yes, all in all, I do enjoy Slammer thoroughly, and so as far as the proverbial question, do I recommend getting Slammer and adding him to your Transformers collection? Absolutely. You cannot go wrong having Kingdom Slammer in your Transformers collection, even though I said that his tank turret is a little floppy and can fall apart very easily. Slammer makes up for it by having a fantastic robot mode. He has a decent tower mode despite not actually connecting to Metroplex that thoroughly. And I do enjoy seeing Slammer reunited with Six Gun and partnering up with Metroplex. So yes, thank you guys all for your continued support. This has been the TFangeek. This has been my review of the Transformers Rover Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom Deluxe Class Autobot Slammer figure. And I thank you guys all so much once again. And until next time, you guys, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone. Ta-da.